Back at it, for better or worse. Ryan Ray, the host. I don't even know why I'm talking. I'm just the co-host here. Ryan,
bring the
how
heat,
are we doing
baby.
today?
Bring the heat.
What's going on? Yes, sir.
What are we talking about today? I have no idea, but I'm ready.
We talked about 10 minutes before the podcast, and I think you and I both agreed that we didn't know. But then within the last 10 minutes, it seems like under the gun, we have come up with some material that I think is going to be pretty fun.
Oh, man. It's going to be a good show. It's going to be a good show. This show, for you folks who are not regular listeners, this is also a podcast, unlike Ben's other shows. Too soon? This show is called Don't Let the Facts, which means that anything we say on here could be reality or it could just be comedy. We're not taking a stance. This is just us having a good time. We hope you enjoy us. Ben, if you'll pop that phone number on there, we're taking calls. I don't know what it is. Number off the top of my head. 817 something, which is really helpful. Yeah, 817-601-7031. Now, for the podcast listeners, you can't call in. It's too late. This is only for live stream, which we will put Ben's live LinkedIn, so you can follow him on LinkedIn to get the live following in the show notes. We go live Thursdays, 3 o'clock Texas time, which is the only time that matters. Mr. Samuels, come on down. Let's talk about the latest Epsteining that happened in the world. You sent this to me. I told you I was going hard to paint, babe. I told you. Hard in the paint. Is that too hard? Too hard?
It's just on brand, buddy. Let's go. Let's go.
Did you see he got, I don't know if it's real or not, there's supposedly a picture with him with the tattoo says whacked.
No, I hadn't heard that.
I don't know if it's real or not. I saw someone post it earlier. So for those of you who don't know, I guess it was yesterday, John McAfee was found dead in his cell in Spain after news broke that he would be extradited to the U.S. The cause is, hey, just Ben, this camera's messing all up. Is it suicide? Suicide?
For those listening, not watching, those air quotes there.
Air quotes. Like I said, the latest Epsteining that happened. So on this one, and listen, it's sad the man's dead. It's a whole crazy story, so I don't make light of it too much. But on this one, actually, I'm more inclined to believe that is what happened compared to the Epsteining verdict. But, you know, with these things in the world we live in today, who knows? What's your read on the situation?
Yeah, for those that don't know some of the brief story behind John McAfee, he was you probably know the name. Security software made a lot of money in that venture.
It was terrible too. It was so bad.
Oh, it was actually I wasn't even going to talk about that, but you're absolutely right. The product was
so bad.
Absolutely. But so he made a bunch of money there, and then if you've heard his name sort of in popular culture or in certain conversations as of the last few years, he has been a pretty aggressive and boisterous Bitcoin evangelist, I guess is the best way to coin it, and has made some wild had made some wild claims in the past about where Bitcoin was going to go in price, and so it sort of carved out a niche, I think, of not only a wealthy upper elite, obviously, just because of circumstance, but also, I hesitate to say thought leader, but someone that was sort of leading this movement. He was a very vocal sort of presence to this Bitcoin evangelism, and
he had personality. That's kind of the thing, right?
Very personal, very
charismatic. I don't know what the word is, but yeah.
Thank you. No, actually, that's the word I was looking for. So thank you. And so, to Ryan's point, I think that, look, he was facing some serious charges back in the U.S. And he was 75 years old. I believe that he had a number of health problems in the last couple of years that have come in the news. And so, does this one surprise me? I don't know. I can make a thesis for either way, but I guess what you're saying, and so this is somewhat tongue in cheek, but also very obviously on a serious subject. I think that we live in a world today where you genuinely don't know. You genuinely don't know where the facts are, what we are being told or what we're not being told. With Epstein, we didn't know until a year later that both the guards had been were not where they were supposed to be. I mean, things like that, you don't know from the gut reaction. But I'll say, you're 75 years old, maybe in declining health, and you're about to go to the US and face those charges
for life. And he wasn't going away. It wasn't like a 6-month stint. He was done.
Well, I mean, it was effectively a death sentence. I mean,
Yes.
or at least a life sentence. I mean, he's not going. He so that's
And
that's
coupled
heavy.
with the fact that he was really, really trying hard to stay away. Like he was living on these crazy islands and all kinds of stuff. And so, so RIP, Mr. McAfee. You know, the thing that got him, and this is a lesson for all the listeners: pay your taxes. Pay your taxes. Let me say it one more time. This is not don't the facts. This is facts. Pay your taxes. Listen, I hate them commies just as much. Everyone, pay your taxes.
One more time for the guys in the back.
Pay your taxes. With one exception, unless you have Trump's CPA, but you're still paying taxes. Then it's just a lot less, and we're still offering that bonus to anyone who hooks us up with that contact, right?
Yeah, we are. We haven't even gotten a single no lead, no nothing. I don't know what that's about.
If it's like Trump's attorney Giuliani, they may. Did you hear he got disbarred?
I feel like I did hear, but
yeah, he got disbarred. So maybe the CPA is not a CPA anymore. So who knows?
Man, we are going aggressive today.
How does that work? In all seriousness, think about this. Let's say that you have a CPA and they advise you on taxes for like 5 years, and then they get rung up. I don't know if this not disbarred, but whatever the term is for CPAs, and then they're no longer CPA, and then you get audited. You're like, oh, okay, hear me out. I thought the CPA was legit. The fact they worked in the back of a meat market, I couldn't put two and two together, but I thought they were legit. And I mean, like, how does that work once the credentialed professional is no longer credentialed? Like, are you covered during the time that they were credentialed? Because technically, so think about this. If Giuliani represented you between January 7th and today in a case, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're disbarring him for something that happened before January 7th. So they're technically saying that he was no longer qualified. Like, you see how it's kind of weird? I don't know. I just wonder how that works. I have no idea.
Yeah, I really don't either. Yeah, that's a rabbit hole that I think you can kind of continue to go down. So, Ryan, we talked about on Coffee and Liquidity today a little bit about self-directed IRAs. There's another news story that's been percolating over the last day or so. Peter Thiel, Roth IRA, some interesting nuance on this one. Talk to me a little bit about that one. So first of all, for those that don't know, give us a brief overview on what a self-directed IRA is, and then let's talk about this thing a little bit.
Yeah. So this is the part of the show that's not financial advice. Talk to an attorney, CPA, lawyer, and not McAfee's representatives. Too soon, but but no, in all seriousness, so self-directed IRA, there's different vehicles for them, but essentially it allows you to invest in. You can invest in direct stocks, you can invest in crypto and gold, you can buy real estate and put it in there, or in the case of Peter Thiel, you can buy shares of your company and put it in there. And so it gives you more flexibility instead of going and getting your mutual fund through Dave Ramsey's investment group. It gives you more flexibility to buy. Now, to be clear, my understanding on self-directed IRAs is each self-directed IRA has a scope of what you can do. So I don't think you can do whatever you want in all of them, but maybe there is some blanket ones. I'm just not aware of that. The ones I'm aware of is like, if you want to buy metals and crypto, then you can do that. If you want to buy stocks, you can't, vice versa. But anyways, so Thiel, sold himself shares of his own company, PayPal. So the kicker is you can only contribute what 7,000 now. It was like 2,000 back then. So it's not like the contributions are different. The difference is, think about it like this. Let's say you had one that bought Bitcoin was 3,500 last year or 2 years ago, last year, right? And so you bought Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin went up to 50,000, and then you sold it. You keep that profit tax free, like it's there. There's no taxes. There's no nothing. So what Thiel did was bought shares of PayPal, I believe, through his IRA, self-directed IRA, and then of course it went to be worth gazillions of dollars. But this is not breaking news. That's what's so funny about it.
Yeah, no, I think it's good that it became a story. I think that maybe more people will start to look at this as something that they can start to exercise.
I've known, I didn't know what all Thiel had in his IRAs, but I've heard people talk about it. He's got these IRAs that are worth gazillions of dollars. So I knew he had them, and I knew he'd bought things and put them in there. I'm trying to think of where I first heard it. It was a book or somewhere. And so it's one of those things where I was watching CNBC today, and God, they're so stupid. We just say how stupid those people are. They are so seriously, Ben. This is what he said. Professional newscaster. He's talking to the guy who broke the story. This is the newscaster. Well, Ben, it seems to me as if the lawmakers are just as surprised as we are about Peter Thiel's ability to navigate the tax code like this. Like, well, okay. Okay, Mr. CNBC, you mean to tell me that you believe that the lawmakers are surprised that someone is finding a loophole in the tax code that the lawmakers wrote? They probably conspired to write the loophole with them. Like, he was dead serious. He's like, lawmakers seem to be pretty stunned by this development. I'm like, oh my gosh. That's the problem with our country. Can I just say for a second? Is that you turn on the news and the news pretends like this is the world we live in. Pelosi's just mad that she ain't got as much in her IRA as he's got in his, or McConnell, insert whatever politician you like here. God, it's just so frustrating. And this is CNBC. What does CNBC specialize in, Ben? Do you know?
I do not.
That's a financial news network. So you think that they might know a little bit about these self-directed IRAs, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean that presupposes that the media has a vested interest in educating the public in any sort of positive demeanor. So that's
Probably a stretch on my part. You're right. I'm sorry.
A little bit.
I'm sorry. I apologize for that. That was too far even for the show.
Again,
okay. Presuming the media cares, that's too far. I told you it's aggressive. I told you.
Yeah.
I'm standing up. I feel good. It's aggressive. This is that 20% I was talking about in the last show. Here it is.
No, actually, I like this. We might have to do marathon podcasts more often. As long as the camera's going to hold up. How are we looking on that front, by the way?
So far, so good. So far, so good.
All right. So, but I mean, yeah, by and large, to wrap that up, I guess I think this is like a non-story. I don't see other than I think it is a good thing that people will start to maybe talk about self-directed IRAs. But I mean, do you have any concept or do you have any thoughts on why this became a big thing?
Well, if you noticed, about before I went on vacation, I think 2 to 3 weeks ago, ProPublica, I think is the publication, they had inside information on all the billionaires that aren't paying taxes. And of course they feigned surprise that the billionaires aren't paying taxes and oh my goodness gracious. And so that they did that. Well, now they're going after Peter Thiel. Now they're claiming they're getting tax documents. So what you have is the IRS is violating all kinds of ethical rules and turning over tax documents to these reporters. That's what's happening. Now, if you wanted to say, so the argument would have to be that Bob and the IRS read these tax returns, and I don't know how the IRS works internally, so I don't know if like one person can tell if you've messed up or protect a team. I have no idea. So this is me just talking here. But Bob reads Peter Thiel's tax return and realizes, or Buffett's tax return, and realizes that they haven't done something right. And he takes it to his boss, and he tells his boss, and his boss agrees. But his boss then says, no, we're not going to do anything about this. And then he takes it to another boss, and the same boss, same story. For him to be justified to whistleblow, because that's what this is. This is whistleblowing. I mean, this is what, or it's criminal. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. It's either criminal or it's whistleblowing, right? Or you did?
Yeah, I can buy that. Okay.
That's it.
Is it the follow-up? Okay.
Is it? No. So I mean, so I think you're seeing. So the fact that you're seeing the billionaires being attacked for not paying taxes, Thiel's being attacked now for paying taxes, and these are IRS leaks. It feels like when you talk about raising the taxes, here we go.
I have a question for you.
No.
This is a little bit outside the box.
Oh boy.
But so what do you think the world would be like if there were as many chimpanzees on Earth as there currently are ants?
It would be aggressive.
I'm asking the important questions here.
It would be aggressive. I'll just leave it at that. What I'm envisioning is folks like, yourself, obviously not me, I'm an animal lover, taking an AK-47, not that you actually have one, air quotes, and just going to town on chimpanzees. Like that's what I envision there. Listen, if there's as many chimps as there are ants, it's a war. Have you seen Planet of the Apes? Do we need to do this? The old version or the new version? Do you know where this is going? What do you mean hypothetical? You're talking about World War III here. What is it?
Yes, that's the thing I wanted. There it is. There it is. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, no, yeah, it would be full out war. No, I mean, maybe you'd have like Purge chimpanzee.
That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. We need to pitch that to Hollywood. But listen, your next Purge is the chimpanzee. Have some lab that's been growing chimps, and they release them out, and they purge whomever they want. You don't know.
Maybe ants just like when they spawn like a butterfly, they spawn into a chimpanzee. All right, so I have another question for you before we get back on topic. I've got one more for you. So, if you had to choose and you had to be Darth Sidious or Bane, which one are you going with?
Oh, Sidious.
Yeah, that's the right answer. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay. I wish I had thought about pulling up a graphic of that because that would have been good. But I'm too slow. I'm not as professional as you. Sorry. Can it? Clay? No, it cannot be both. No, absolutely not. All right. So, Ryan, what else we going to talk about today?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you started going through World War III AK-47 takes on chimpanzees. This isn't off the rails. But you have steered us in a direction that.
I was just curious. I was reading something earlier today.
What do you think about the Britney Spears deal?
Yeah, that's actually.
I don't follow that story that closely, but it's like everyone seems to have a take on it. My take is she should probably be left alone, but I really haven't followed it. What's going on?
Yeah, I haven't followed it very closely, but from what I understand, when she had a mental breakdown, I think it was like 07, 08, something like that, and entered into a conservatorship to protect her assets. But it seems like that. Yeah, Clay, you're also right about that. It seems like that would, that relationship has dissolved or devolved into something very unhealthy and very kind of control and psychopathic in ways. I think I think the big takeaway, and I don't know this is a direct answer to your question, but it's troubling to me that someone that is clearly of right mind, clearly now can is of sound mind, would be in a situation where the courts of America can dictate the access to that person's freedom, outside of the fact, given the fact that they are not charged with any sort of crime or anything of that nature. And so I think it is alarming. And hopefully she, gets to a place where she's able to, take control of more of that. But I think it's a really troubling use case or kind of case study on this concept. I mean, what do you think?
This is why, by and large, I don't want to say without exception because there might be one, but generally by and large, there should be no crime that involves thought. Where the state determines whether or not they know what you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'll give you an example. A guy carrying something in his car, and they charge him with intent to. It's like, well, how do you know what he's intending to do? It's like, well, it's obvious. Like, well, I don't know. Maybe he changes his mind. Maybe not. Like, so the intent to crimes, or there's a litany of crimes like that. Because you look at a case like this, and I don't know enough about Brittany, but here you have the courts who are deeming that I guess it's her father is in charge of her assets and stuff like that, and it's like, oof, okay, I don't need the courts to be in charge of the mental capacity, especially for crimes in this case. So, however, most people don't think about those terms. They say, oh yeah, we want the courts to judge on these intent crimes and motive crimes. Now, motive is important if there's a crime committed, but a crime without motive, is the problem. So, So yeah, that's my thoughts. That's my 2 cents. Did you just text me?
No, sir.
No, you didn't. Okay. Sorry.
I do like the fact that when your phone buzzes, the automatic thought is, of course, Ben texts me. Like, who else would do it?
Who else would text me? Yeah, obviously Clay won't call the show, so what you gonna do?
Yeah, what else? Yeah, what else is new? I actually saw.
Actually,
you probably just don't have it on, do you?
I don't have it on. Well, he would have called my phone. It wouldn't have connected to the.
I saw Clay out last night at Shack in the Back. Good crowd out there last night.
Oh, did y'all resolve the height deal?
No, it didn't come up. For better or worse. That's funny.
I want to picture you side by side. That's what I want.
I think he's tall. He's got to be taller than me. I think he is. Clay, how tall are you? Put it in the comments. So where was it going with that? I don't know.
You're going to talk about this landslide in Miami and your thoughts on is Miami sinking or not?
I clearly is. I mean, Miami is like Carlsbad west or east. I mean, yeah.
So I heard someone the other day have an opposite take that Miami's not sinking. God, what was their take? I can't remember. I'm trying to think of where I heard that. Oh,
can we see this? Can we see this on screen?
Yeah. What?
So that's my dad. That's my dad. I sent him a picture, a screenshot of us. And can you see what it says at the bottom there?
The Rhine Express.
There you go.
Oh, Tom's a genius. Tom's a genius. I love him. Well, so you buy into the Miami sinking theory?
I mean, what do you mean by sinking? I mean, what I mean by that is like Miami in 50 years from now will be underwater.
You think? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll be 100 years from now. But I mean, with sea ice melt and some of the other whatever. I mean, I thought that maybe I'm making leaps of faith. I thought that was sort of like known, quote unquote, or whatever. I thought that everyone sort of was on board that a lot of the current shoreline was going to be underwater by, as the water continues to encroach in. I mean, like, there's stuff there.
Now, deep thoughts by Ben. As the water continues to encroach, there's stuff there.
Hey, man. You sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss. I'm here. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Okay, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
You're taking hacks. You're taking hacks. Oh, that's funny. It's a factual statement, so that's what's.
Listen, to your point, what you were talking about earlier today on causal liquidity. Sometimes you may want to make an argument that you can't poke a hole through. Hey, listen, I'm just emulating what you're talking about. All right.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Just saying.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, what's actually going on with all that? I don't follow the. I don't follow enough of it close enough. I just know it's big. It's a big talking point, and there's a lot of big talking points, and most of those times, is it just me or is the Yoda thing kind of creepy now?
It's just sort of like sitting on your shoulder, so it's just like it seems out of place a little bit. But
we got someone calling in here. Hello. Oh, I think you muted. Let's see here. Hope. Can you hear us?
Hey, this is how far behind the lag I am. It just told me that you were just making a comment about it, me not calling in. It's that far behind.
That's crazy. That's so crazy. What's going on, man? Can you hear him, Ben?
Oh,
yes, sir.
I'm actually on my way back, driving back to Whitesboro right now. Up in just went to Denton. So,
what's going on out there?
94, but with the heat index, it's kind of crappy.
Yeah.
So I don't know how far behind I am. I'm sure I've missed 3 or 4 minutes worth at least.
Well, what were you calling?
We talked about this last night, and Ben said there's nothing we can do about it anyway. I mean, this is a deal with the flag on LinkedIn side that there's. I was telling him if I don't comment, then it's like I don't have the lag. But if I start commenting, is when the spiral of death starts coming up.
Really? That's interesting.
Yep. So if I just sit and listen and don't, like I said, don't respond or anything, then I stay a lot closer on track. But as soon as I comment, after you comment, about 15 to 20 seconds after you comment and everything, and I've been listening to you, then it goes to the spiral, and it takes a while to catch back up.
Huh? That's so weird. I don't know. Yeah, this is Ben's show, so I have no idea. I don't have LinkedIn Live. It's also on. I don't know if you're on Twitter or not, but it's also on Twitter. And is it on YouTube, Ben?
No.
It's on YouTube as well. So maybe we can post a YouTube link. That might be a little faster. I don't know.
I can't hear you.
Say something, Ben. He's muted.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I was just muted. I was here. I'll let you guys.
Can you hear him now?
Yeah. Okay. And as far as the height still goes, yes, I'm still taller, and no, I'm not 5'11".
So
so we were planning on I'm gonna come back out to Shack in about 2 weeks. So that's when you need to come down, Ryan, so you can go after the Shack in the back on the 7th, July 7th.
Well, there's nothing Ben loves more than going to Shack in the back. So I will try to.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You want to come down?
Yeah.
Let's make a whole deal. I can probably get Keith to show back up, and heck, I could probably just do a LinkedIn Live deal right there.
LinkedIn Live right there. That night. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Quick 30-minute one.
Yeah, I don't know when. Let's see here. The 7th. We're talking about coming back, but I think we're talking about maybe I come out in late July or August when it's really hot. Really hot. No, I don't know. I'll probably come back a couple times. So we'll have to see. So all right, man. Well, let me ask you this before we get you out of here. I was gone last week. Was Ben able to hold the fort down without me?
Yeah, I mean, he's been holding his own. He's doing fine.
Oh, good night. He's over here shaking his head. You can't see him. You'll see this lag.
Hey, if I'm doing fine, that's the definition of under promise over deliver. I'm good with that. I'm here so I don't get fined.
I can't hear what he's saying, but it just sounds like mumbled over here.
Yeah, I think it's because it's going back to the computer. So, all right, brother. Well, look, thanks for calling in. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next week, man.
All right, man. See you later.
Bye. Benson.
What? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up here. Ryan, I don't know if you're as fascinated with space and space exploration and all of that as I am. No, we've talked about that actually off air much. But the current news is the astronomers have apparently figured out when to work out, I guess, when the first star was shown. And it looks like they're calling it the cosmic dawn. Occurred about 350 million years ago, or 50 million years after the Big Bang. Want to talk about that?
If you want to, what do you want to talk about?
It's all, you know. When you hear this, tell me what you think.
I think the same thing I think when I hear global warming. It's just modeling. Okay, that's what I think. What do you think? So let me give you an example real quick. If you look it up, I think according to the astronomers, the nearest star they can actually measure, they say they can measure, is 10,000 light years away. So everything beyond 10,000 light years away is modeled based upon the fact that the distances between here and 10,000 light years are the same.
Is that a current data point? That's interesting. I haven't heard that before. When do you know if that's like?
I think like 2 or 3 years ago I looked it up. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder how quickly that this industry sort of iterates that technology.
Well, I don't know there's only so many ways you can measure stuff, so it's not like you can change a whole lot.
But you can get more and more precise, which is the goal, right? Or you can measure things at a longer and longer distance with better and better tools. No.
Well, so I don't know how they're measuring the stars, but if you're out here and you're measuring this, right? So you'd measure the sides, and then you'd know the difference, and you'd run your calculation. So if it's but what I'm saying is, so hold that thing up again. So okay, so how big is that thing? So okay, so the first answer to that thing is I'm gonna make this up. It's 3 inches across. But but if you had more data, it's this much volume, it's this much radius, it's this much this. You could describe it in such particularity. Wow, that you could
go recreate it based on that instruction. And that's what I think that's the difference. So like the measurement tool becomes better and better, so you're able to get more granular and granular.
How do you measure better? So the question is, how do you measure better?
Well, no, but in this example, I guess what I'm saying is that you can measure longer. So instead of being able to only measure for a foot, you can measure for 2 feet, and you continue to increase the radius.
I understand. I'm just saying, but you'd have to have better technology. So what would be the better technology? So,
you're asking.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so if you're saying, for instance, back in surveying, they used to have a thing called a chain. They pulled the chain, and that would be a chain was so long until, anyways. And so there's problems with having chains because it's hot, it's cold, water, mud. Of course, you couldn't cut, brush, all this stuff. So the chain measurement was only so accurate. Well, then you start talking about maybe like a total station. Okay, what's pretty accurate? Of course, if you move the rod, then it's less accurate. Then you talk about GPS. So everything. So there's ways in which you can say, well, measuring with the GPS is much more efficient and accurate than a chain. So my question would be: is when you're talking about looking at stars, you're measuring them by the accuracy of the telescope. It's the only thing I can think of, because they're not actually using new technology. It's just how good is the picture resolution. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I don't know fundamentally how much that technology's changed. And I'll give you an example. I don't know if this is still the theory. Did you ever hear the theory about the 10th planet or 9th planet? I don't know how many planets we got now that's in the asteroid belt.
No.
So at one time, this is the last few years, there was a theory that they believed that possibly that there's another planet in the asteroid belt, because they couldn't explain why the Earth revolved around the sun in the pattern that it did or something. And so, I think you look at that and you say, well, okay, there's fundamental questions that we struggle to answer about this. It's hard to take if we don't have. So we know how to fly a plane. We know how to fly a plane. So you could take flying a plane theoretically and duplicate it on any planet that had the same atmospheric conditions that we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. But if you're not sure why, if you can't explain necessarily our orbit, then you don't understand why the math works the way it does. You start saying, well, here's another solar system, and you start trying to extrapolate out. I think that's when you run into problems. Potentially.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Wait, did you say earlier on the show that Rudy Giuliani lost his New York law license? Is that what you said?
Yeah. I don't think it's permanent. It's temporary for now, but I think he's
based on something specific, or just because he's clearly lost his damn mind.
Well, I think when you asked him to represent you, that was too far.
Wow.
New York was like, no more. We can listen. We've let him go far enough down the road. According to this, it was because demonstrably false statements that he made to the court.
Which time?
That's what's so ironic. It's like, okay, listen, I've watched enough lawyers talk. This is like, come on now. So I don't know if it's for the election, if it's part of the election stuff or what, but it's just whatever. So maybe we should get him on the podcast.
So what's the deal? So I mean, since we're talking about Giuliani and I mean his favorite thing to talk about for over the last couple of years, last year, I guess, has been Corona. It's apparently the Delta variant is going to hit Europe. What are we just going to continue to see more and more of these roll out, and the government sort of hope the people continue to cow to pressure, or what's the play here? What's going on?
We going hard to paint now? Like we going? We
thought
hard.
Within the first 3 minutes, you dropped he wasn't Epstein. So
no, I said he was Epstein actually, but whatever.
It's true. This is thank you for that editorial comment. Yes.
Yeah. Later on, I'll clarify that he might not be, but yes. Man, I'm just. I really wonder how much people actually pay attention to this now. Like, are people actually tracking the variants, or is it just something the media is pounding home to us? And so, I saw JP Morgan Chase said if you don't get vaccinated, you can't come back to work.
Yep, saw that. Doesn't surprise me at all, but did see it.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me, but the media is such hacks. Oh gosh, you're such hacks. I mean, can you imagine the banks which own the Fed telling the American citizens who the Fed lends out money to bail out all these corporations that they can't go to work unless they're vaccinated? I mean,
but I think the complication is that they're not hacks. I mean, I don't think that they actually, would even tell people that they're trying to serve any sort of like positive good. I mean, it's
democracy dies in darkness. I mean, that's literally the Washington Post's headline.
Yeah, you're right.
That's not the Onion.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Maybe, yeah. No, I sometimes I lose track of reality. It happens. This happens to the best of us. I don't have to tell you. I'm just here so I don't get fined. I don't know.
The water comes up and there's stuff there.
I've yet to hear a counter argument. That's all I'll say. So
listen, that is far better than the asteroid and the planet and the asteroid belt argument. So you've got it. You're doing well.
No, but so I mean, look, I think people at this point, you've planted your flag already, right? If you're pro-mask or anti-mask, if you're pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine, I mean, you've already had to make those decisions in your social circles. You already know where you stand, and so I think that there's a certain sect of society that has shown that they will jump when the government says how high without question. And I think that's incredibly dangerous. I think of 1984. I think of very Orwellian type things. I think that's something that I don't know. I think that's something that the powers that be are watching very closely and learning more about the populace than we probably want them to.
So where does this end, though? Because at some point, do people just comply, or do you have a breaking point?
I think you have a breaking point, but the problem is I don't know what the breaking point is, and you certainly don't have some sort of like cohesive like global breaking point. I mean, it's going to be place by place, and so. But so I mean, I don't know. I mean, would you agree with that the America as the reputation, or at least seems to be the most sort of fervently kind of as a collective unit actually I guess with the administration now it's branded differently, but going back to like Trump years that we were like the most aggressively anti, like we're going to take care of this issue on the planet.
We mean take care of it.
Like that we're going to set up support for vaccines and we think this is a real issue and we're like serious about curing this. I
think China's been far and away outpaced this.
I thought that like they were like sort of, and you're going to know a lot better than me, obviously. I thought they were like sort of notorious for like shutting down places and locking. I mean,
maybe we're talking massive. So what I'm saying is China has been giving vaccines to all over the world. They've been passing out like candy.
Oh no, I'm saying the other way that we seem to be the country that was most like we were the slowest to actually get to the table. We were as a country we were against the movement of establishing
of the major countries. Yes, there's some emerging markets where that wouldn't hold true, but yes,
true. Yeah,
yeah.
Well, I mean, like Togo can't. So is that too soon?
Wow, that's heart of a lion. Heart of a lion. That's right. Wow.
Was it though?
No, not really.
Was it even?
No. It was pretty soft. Go ahead. Sorry.
You what?
What was your point with the COVID stuff?
Oh,
have we been the most resistant to the?
I don't remember. I don't actually remember. I was making a point, but then we started talking about something else.
The water rising.
The water rising. Yeah. So the Supreme Court came out with an 8-1 decision. I think it was yesterday, the day before, based on free speech. There is and I did not read the story briefly, so I'm going to give some brief context. If you know more, please fill in the gaps. But there is a teenage cheerleader that had a freedom of speech case that went all the way up to the Supreme Court based on her disbarment or being kicked off the cheerleading squad based on because of a Snapchat rant that she put out. And I actually didn't watch the rant, so I don't know what the context was, but apparently it was against the school and the school district and maybe some of the teachers there. I see this as I'm kind of confused as to why it even got to the Supreme Court. I think this should have been decided in whatever the lowest court available that would hear this case would be. And this is like a slam dunk of course she's able to do that when not on school grounds and of, whatever. Do you disagree?
It's a public school, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think this is the problem with public schools. I mean, it's very hard for them. I remember when we were in high school, in civics class, they had a thing about maybe the red bandana people were wearing on their arm during the Vietnam War or something to protest. I can't remember what it was. And the school said you can't do it. They took it to Supreme Court or whatever court. I think it was Supreme Court. Anyways, they won and they could wear it. And I remember sitting there reading the story at the same time hearing the school tell me I couldn't do certain things. And I was like, you guys not read this book? And I'm not saying it's a one-to-one. I just always found it interesting. It's like, okay, maybe we'll see. I think that, so I guess it would depend on what she actually, so I guess there's a couple things. One,
does the context matter? Does it actually matter what she said?
Was she slandering them? It does.
No, that to my knowledge, that was that.
I'm just saying the context. I know, but the context doesn't matter if she's slandering them.
Okay,
right?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The context doesn't matter on some level. But if she's just saying I don't like school, I don't think that matters. So the problem here is that the public school is the government, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. And so, how do you ban speech against the school when you are the government? That seems exactly what the First Amendment is there for.
I mean,
if this were a private school, it'd be a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's public school, so the government. So it seems like they're kind of blocked by the rules of this Constitution thing. Of course, the Constitution doesn't really matter, but we like to pretend it does from time to time. Yeah,
I mean, I think to that point, I find it interesting that this, wasn't taken care of greatly, a lot. But I guess the other side of that is that now that there's a Supreme Court precedent that will be, used ubiquitously across the country, which is a net win for future cases like this. So I guess that's to that perspective, it's a positive.
Well, okay, so I had to read. I'm curious to read the opinions and see why Thomas didn't, why he dissented, the lone dissenter. But so think about this. And I don't know this. Well, a lawyer would know this, but how can the school prevent the student from doing this on campus? Not like in the classroom, but like in the parking lot, like just in the parking lot after school. Like it's like
it's a good point because it's still public. It's public property. It's government property. No, that's true too. Yeah, I would.
Right. So at some point the envelope gets pushed to where you're like, ooh, okay, well, but if and so I don't know. I'm not a big advocate for public schools, but I think it's interesting. It's an interesting case. And 8-1, that's 2 now where we had the 9-0 on the athlete pay deal, and then 8-1. It's kind of surprising to see that these justices are all aligning on some of these issues. You'd have expected a little bit more dissent.
Yeah, no, but I also think that, so you look at this case. If you're on the dissent side, I haven't read the opinion either. I'd bet that the dissent is on some relatively narrow scope of the decision, rather than I don't agree with the axiomatic decision or the top level decision, because a lot of times the dissents are much more sort of nuanced. I don't agree with this piece. Yeah, right.
They are.
But that's a good point. So you probably have talked about this on either Energy Week or Texas Oil and Gas podcast, or both, maybe both. But there seems to be a new story sort of percolating in circles that, given the U.S. summer oil demand, that the crude inventory, and also coupled with what's going on in regards to drilling restrictions and some of the ESG kind of movements away from more upstream development, that we're looking at potential historic lows on crude inventory, which seems like a small problem, or seems like not a big deal, but could have wide-ranging ramifications if that actually becomes a true supply constraint. Are we in a position where we need to be nervous about this? What are your thoughts?
Okay, this is the most interesting debate that there is right now, because if you go follow like Big Oren on Twitter, I had Mark Rossano on Inside the War Room, and I'll have Anas on tomorrow. I'm not sure what Anas's take is, but I know Mark and Big Oren are very much of the opinion that we're not low on oil at the moment, and that there's a lot of overhype. I mean, Rossano said yesterday that he believes, based upon inventory levels, the price should be between 55 and 60. Okay, and so you look at that and you go, yeah, right. And so, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of one of those areas where I just kind of look at the chart. This is inventory. This is price. This is inventory. This is price. And I go, okay. I mean, it's not really my area of expertise. But it makes you wonder, because China's buying. If you look at some of the demand stuff, China's buying is down. Africa was having African countries were having a hard time selling a few months back, and so it's.
I somewhat wonder if China's buying is down simply because of how much they did in fact acquire. I mean, at some point, it's like, where do we put the stuff?
Well, that's part of the thing, was that there was speculation that they were buying and they were going to taper off once the price hit the threshold, and then use that to either keep the price down or in their own country. So they didn't have to buy at this price point, to your point. But if they quit buying, there's less demand. Like that's still the reality. This was picked up from somewhere else.
No, you're absolutely right. No, I guess why I hesitated is because I was thinking through sort of the domestic implications, because this is more of a sort of like, I think, a domestic slant. I don't know if I've read into the narrative that the worldwide market is in a demand constraint nearly at the level that we are, because you have OPEC, et cetera, that they don't care. They're going to pump.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I think we're all surprised, at least I am, the price is as high as it is right now. And so there is that. But you've seen, was it lumber prices are starting to crash now? Other prices are starting to crash. Oil's a little bit different because it's, to your point, the U.S. drilling really hasn't caught up to the price. So will you see that turnover there as well? But, can the U.S. withstand another price crash in oil? I said the U.S. oil industry. What happens if we? Sorry, that's the bat phone there.
The glitch in the matrix.
But it's not. No, that's the phone calling, but it's not the Google Voice number. So sorry. Turn it down.
So I pulled this up here as you were talking. It looks like so oil production in the U.S. as a percentage of pre-pandemic levels in the Midwest, 73, Gulf Coast in the 90s, East Coast has actually made a full recovery up above 100. I want to pause there for a second. So in the East Coast, you're talking what? Kern County in California. There's some up farther north in California. I wonder if East Coast is also talking in. Do you think East Coast would talk bleed into Nevada, Utah, or is this just on the coast? Because that's an interesting statistic that they are above pre-pandemic production.
East Coast being Nevada.
Oh wow! I was thinking West Coast. I'm sorry, East Coast. No, okay. So
as the water level rises, there's stuff behind it.
There's stuff there. So no, that's even so. So actually, I guess the reason I went West is because East is even weirder. Because in the East you have Pennsylvania and all those, right. And and yeah, it's all gas, and so.
But that's just a percentage. It's not necessarily a. Is that necessarily a total?
Look, sometimes I have to look, and I remember myself that the L is left.
The L is the left.
And sometimes I'm driving down the wrong side of the road, and I'm like, oh, there's a one-way sign that's pointing at me. I need to go the other direction. I mean,
as the water. But what happens when the water rises? That's important.
There's stuff there.
When you send me the video, I'm gonna make some clips from today's show. That will be one of them.
You know how poorly you and I execute on like the promotion of this podcast. I don't think we've ever cut a single clip.
Listen, I got a new Mac. I got a brand new Mac sitting right there, ready to roll just for that.
Oh, I passed geography. All right. I just, sometimes East Coast versus West Coast. Look, if you get in the car and you hit ocean, you don't necessarily know if you went north. I guess you wouldn't.
Listen, if you go east long enough, you'll eventually end in Nevada. If you go east long enough, you'll eventually hit Nevada. I'm just saying.
You're not wrong. You're not, I mean, who could ignore, or who could deny that? That's funny. Oh, whoops, hello. Zoom back in there. All right, so we're hurtling towards the end here. Any parting thoughts? Any final things that we need to talk about on Thursday?
I just want to know, now that you've kind of done a full day, like your boy does regularly, how do you feel? Like, what does this feel like to do this many shows in one day? Because this is Monday for me. Actually, this isn't even Monday for me. This is close to. Well, no, it's Monday. It's Monday for me.
I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I didn't get anything else done today. No, I was texting you actually before this show. Yeah, before this show, I guess. That like 8 minutes before showtime, I was about 6 minutes down the road. So I would say that is similar to your experience, but you don't go outside, and so it's probably pretty different. Although as recent, you've been getting out of your comfort zone a little bit, traveling a little bit.
A little bit.
So I think we talked about it a little bit, but so you were out of the office or I don't know, moving for a week, whatever that is, and then
I was on vacation.
Took a vacation. Well, then no, but then you took a vacation for a week. There was 2 weeks there.
Okay, we couldn't move into the house. We had to move all of our stuff into storage.
That seems like excuses. What's it like to be back in the saddle? How do you feel? You're almost through a full week.
Listen,
it's just like this is just like riding a bike.
The champ, baby, the champ. Listen, I'm ready.
I'm not sure that I like the standing around. I feel like next week I might have to stand up.
It's aggressive. I mean, I can sit back down to close the show out if you want, but it's aggressive. I didn't sit for CNL. I was a little bit more tempered for that.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Well,
that was good. Yeah, for those of you that didn't get a chance to tune in live, that's still on the page.
Where can they download the podcast?
You cannot download the podcast because the podcast host is too lazy. Yeah, too lazy. Let's just go with that. Call a spade a spade.
30 seconds to upload podcast.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a process. So I will say that myself, I'm like a burgeoning podcast host. I don't really have any clue what I'm doing. I happen to be very fortunate though that one of my best friends is a guru at this. He is the talking head with a capital T, capital T, capital H. Now I've asked him a couple of times to help me, and his response each time has been, I don't know what you need help with. What do you want? Like, what do you want from me? I don't know how to do anything. And so it would be awesome if, like we talked about on CNL, if I could have a mentor that would help me learn how to do this in 30 seconds. So if you're willing to help me, that would be awesome. I do appreciate that. Don't let the facts, by the way. I don't feel like we've pointed out that this is Don't Let the Facts. This is podcast prep. This is not
lies. You sit on a throne of lies.
Go ahead. Sorry. This. Sorry.
No, that was that. Maybe that should be the intro music.
It's be accurate.
All right.
Okay, listen. I don't think you've ever asked me for help to upload your podcast, but if you need help, I've offered to let you use my hosting. Even.
Yeah.
Well, not really, but it's Don't Let the Facts.
I was going to say.
It's Don't Let the Facts.
I was like, wait, that one I would have just jumped at. Like that one I would have thought about. Like that seems like a no-brainer.
It's right here.
So before we part, real quick, since this is the last show of the week, I have two more things that we got to get off the docket. You can make them quick. You can dive in. I'm going to leave it to you. One of these is sort of the low-hanging fruit, and we've seen it a lot. So we probably talked about it on the podcast a bunch. Schlumberger came out I think on Monday. They commit to a net zero by 2050 greenhouse gas targets. Is this purely just EOG, just talk? Is this something that you think that these upstream groups can, or I guess these in this case, the service groups can actually operationalize? And I think more so to that point, when Schlumberger says that they're going to commit to net zero 2050 greenhouse gas targets, one of the things that I thought about when I read that story is that it's one thing for their operation to meet that standard, but they also, they're a service provider. They're providing a service to other clients. And so are they also saying that the operations that they are a part of will also meet that standard? And so like,
Yeah, so I would say when you go to google.com, you go to google.com real quick. At the very bottom of google.com, what does it say? You're muted.
It says carbon neutral since 2007, but in the subtext it says we buy carbon credits. Is that what that says? I think it says we buy carbon credits.
Carbon neutral if you click on it, it says carbon neutral since 2007, carbon free by 2030. Both of those are lies. And so what I would say to you is that, Schlumberger or EOG, they're going to be buying carbon credits just like your boy Bill Gates is, and they're going to be offsetting it. And so maybe they'll reduce some carbon emissions here and there, but mainly be through offsets, or they'll figure out a way to pump it back down whole for cheap. But you can't really do that the way the laws are right now.
Let me ask you a different question then, or similar. So if that's the case, and I don't disagree whatsoever, do you believe that by the time that these sort of these horizons like 2030, 2050 have come to pass or upon us, that the oil and gas industry the oil and gas industry may have been able to change the conversation or educate the public and sort of reframe these conversations? Do you think that maybe these other industries that are much more damaging to the environment on a much greater scale than the oil and gas industry ever could be are going to be also under the gun? Are we going to see the restriction of the cows, or are we going to see these other things, or is this a pure just all out attack on oil and gas and the restriction of the movement of people, and sort of once they get that, then they'll let the rest of the carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide run amok?
And you thought the Epstein take was wrong, and you
I don't have any strong feelings about that whatsoever. I'm just here so I don't get fined. How many times have I said that today?
I know. That's what but I'm not going to say that. Okay. I'm not going to say that. So I'm just saying. Pull up Clay's comment real quick. I wanted to. So the problem, Clay, and I agree, but the problem is that the pressure will be, you claim to be carbon neutral. However, you're enabling companies like AOG or Exxon to pollute the world. And so, Schlumberger and these companies will have that kind of pressure on them, I think, would be my guess. Right, Ben? Would you agree? That even though Schlumberger or Halliburton is carbon neutral, their clients, if they're not, then they'll say, oh, well, you can work for Exxon because Exxon's carbon neutral, but you can't work for Samuel's Petroleum because they're not. That's
wow.
It was racist, I know. Wow. Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa. It's aggressive.
All right. Last one, Brian, before we log off here. China joins a consortium to taking.
I didn't even answer your question. I didn't get to answer your question.
Yes, you did. No?
No. We should
go ahead. Go ahead.
I suspect.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
I suspect by 2030, the map will look different. That's what I suspect.
I feel like there's more there. Talk to me about that.
Oh, there's a lot more there. There is a lot more there. I suspect by 2030, the map will look different. So when you print out a map, it will have different lines on it than it does now.
Where geolocate me to these areas that may be more of a hotbed of this activity?
I think you're seeing it right now with the Idaho movement, the West Idaho movement, where you've got those counties in Oregon. You have the 51st state or whatever they're called with the Northern California. That's just in the U.S. Now you talk about in Africa and places like that, where you're going to see a lot of problems. We can get into demographics and all the problems with demographics and how the world doesn't have enough people, and so you're either going to have to create more technology to keep stuff cheap, or you're going to have stuff become expensive. Like there's all kinds of problems that are coming. So I think that at some point, things will just look differently, and I'll leave it there for now.
Yeah, Clay, that's a valid question right there.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the answer to that is when see, even I have a modulator. I pulled that one back. See, I'm learning, Ryan. I'm learning. If you're done with that, I've got one more.
One more. Let's go.
All right. So China joined a consortium that's taking a 49% equity stake in Aramco oil pipelines. Looks like they are joining a group that's investing $12.4 billion in the Saudi Aramco oil pipelines, and it's led by a U.S. firm, actually, EIG Global Energy Partners.
There's my wife.
Hello, Haley. How are you?
You can see the.
Is she? I thought she was saying, "Hey, listen, it's time for you to get off the podcast."
I think she is. I think that was her way of.
Is that what that was?
I don't know.
All
She looked like she was gonna murder me. So that was kind of the.
But I don't know if that's just Tuesday or if that's that's.
Okay.
So
China's partnered with the Saudis because China wants to influence the Middle East, and the more influence the Middle East they can get, the better. And the sooner they can get people to unpeg the currency from the dollar, the better potential they have for taking over the world. There you go.
So we've talked about this a bunch, I think mostly off air. I'm not sure. I still am not sure that I buy the thesis that China actually cares about global domination. I think that they care about being a global power, and I think they care about being able to do whatever they want within their own borders. Sure. I don't think they have any designs whatsoever about going out and like conquering some like new territory, or
not conquering,
expanding the. I'm sorry.
All they need is the dollar to have less power than it does now. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. So you're just talking about on fiscal. Okay. Sorry. Absolutely. I'm with you. Okay.
That's it.
No, that makes sense.
That's it.
Hold on, Ryan. I think I have one more question for you. Hold on.
Oh boy, like a trap.
Maybe. Like when I get into the notes, it's not going to be good.
It's a trap.
All right. So if you could only whisper or shout for the rest of your life, which would you
I already shout now. So if I could do the opposite of what I do, if I can only whisper or shout, I don't know of anyone who's ever saved a life by whispering. So I'll take shouting.
I hadn't even crossed my brain. That's actually that's sound logic. somehow that works. I don't. Man, this is a good way to end the week. All right, I think with that
we'll wrap it up.
Pull the record.
We talked about Ben Samuels and his AK-47s murdering chimpanzees. We talked about McAfee getting Epsteined. We've talked about the problem with measuring far off planets and stars. We talked about there's stuff behind the water on the beaches. It's been a great show. It's been good to get back. I was off last week. Some people thought maybe I got rusty. Maybe I'd retired. No, I'm back. Look at me right here, back. You know what? Sure. Tomorrow, 11 Central, 11 Texas time, 11 o'clock Texas time. It won't be live streamed, but I will be recording with the great Anas Al-Haji, talking about all things oil and gas. So that will come out on Inside the War Room podcast. Go download it, give it 5 stars because that helps spread the word. If this were a podcast, this is a podcast. Go hit 5 stars on this right now. Do it.
This is a podcast.
If Ben sends it to me, I'll upload it.
How long does it take to do that?
About 30 seconds. If you have someone write the show notes, that's the trick. You've got to dupe someone to write the show notes, and it takes 30 seconds.
Oh, we already know who the idiot there is. No question about that. Oh, all right. So and we also got you to commit to helping me on mine.
Always, always. Inside the War Room, Don't Let the Facts podcast. Coffee and Liquidity, maybe one day if that'll be a show. There's actually some shows on there I want to watch, but I can't because
Mornings Off the Rails. Don't forget about that one.
Morning Off the Rails, right here.
Yes, sir.
Here.
Until next week.
Thanks for calling in. Everyone tuning in. Be back
Monday.
Next week. Monday, 8:30 Texas time. Peace.